Libra, dear soul. What if I told you this message is not just powerful, it's too serious to ignore? What if your presence here is the turning point between the life you've known and the destiny that's been quietly waiting for your yes? If your spirit has been feeling stirred, if you've sensed whispers in your intuition, tension in your chest, or an unshakable sense that something enormous is approaching, then this video is not a coincidence. This is divine orchestration. You are not just watching a horoscope. You've entered sacred ground. And Libra, this is not entertainment, it's spiritual alignment. Your soul has been marked for something far greater than balance in day-to-day matters. The universe, or more specifically, the divine source behind it all, is pointing to you in this moment, saying, it's time. Time to stop observing from the sidelines. Time to step into the role you were born to play, the restorer of cosmic balance in a world leaning too far into chaos. You, Libra, are not here to please everyone. You're here to protect energetic order. To hold truth when others lie. To love where the world rejects. And that requires a courage few understand. That is why this message feels different. Because it is. And maybe you've been wondering lately, why do I feel overwhelmed by the pain of others? Why do I always feel like I'm holding things together, even when no one sees it? Why do I feel chosen, but also so alone? It's because your role is sacred. And with sacred roles comes sacred burdens, but also sacred power. Here at Zodiac Whisper Tarot, this channel is not simply a place for predictions. It's a sanctuary for those who carry ancient light. For those who feel both soft and strong, fragile yet called. For those who pray in silence and heal others through presence alone. Libra, this message today is not about what's happening around you. It's about what's activating within you. This is your divine checkpoint. And if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. If you've been telling yourself you'll shift tomorrow, try again next week, or wait for the perfect timing, know this: there is no more waiting. Because what is being unlocked in the spiritual realm for you will not wait forever. The gates are open now. The wind of God is moving. The veil is thinning. And your name, Libra, is being spoken in rooms you cannot yet see. That's why I'm inviting you to stay with me until the very last moment of this message. Not because of me, but because of what Spirit is preparing to say through this space, this video, this very breath. And as we begin this journey together, I want to say something important. Let me take a moment to express my deepest gratitude for your presence here. Every like, every comment, every new subscription brings you closer into this spiritual family we're building here at Zodiac Whisper Tarot. And your support, it's not just appreciated, it's sacred. It keeps this light burning and allows these transformational messages to reach those who are silently praying for answers. Now, my faithful Libras, tell me in the comments below, what do you think called you here today? What signs have been chasing you lately? And if your heart is already resonating, if your spirit feels it, type your sacred number in the comments. It could be 777. Or whatever number has been following you like a whisper from the divine. Stay close, because what's coming next may be the most important message your soul has heard in years. Let's begin. You may not have realized it before, but being born under the sign of Libra isn't just about the symbols of balance, beauty, or diplomacy, it's about sacred placement. There's a deeper reason why you've always been sensitive to injustice, why chaos makes your heart race, and why you feel torn whenever things feel misaligned in your environment. It's because your soul carries the unique energetic blueprint of a restorer, a recalibrator of spaces, relationships, and emotional climates. You weren't born to be neutral. You were born to sense when the scales are tipping too far, and to respond not always loudly, but truthfully, consistently, and with heart. This isn't about playing the role of peacemaker in every room. It's about becoming aware that your presence alone carries the frequency of alignment. Libras who are awake to their purpose don't just avoid conflict, they transform it. They don't just seek justice, they embody it in how they speak, how they choose, and how they live. The greatest misconception about your sign is that you're indecisive. But the truth is, you care deeply about how decisions affect the whole. That's not weakness. That's spiritual leadership. And that's exactly what the world needs more of. When people come to you, often without even knowing why, it's because something about your energy feels like safety. And safety, in an unstable world, is magnetic. But here's something rarely talked about. The ones who hold space for others the most often have the fewest people holding space for them. And that's why this message matters. Because before you can continue healing the world around you, you must first give yourself permission to receive the same grace you offer others so effortlessly. There is a sacred assignment that Libras tend to carry often without ever being taught how to carry it. It shows up in family systems, where you're the one keeping peace, soothing arguments, or being the bridge between estranged relatives. It shows up in friendships, where you instinctively take on the role of mediator, the quiet stabilizer. And it even shows up in professional spaces, where your intuitive sense of fairness helps correct dynamics others are too afraid to face. But these roles, as noble as they are, can become heavy if you never stop to ask, who's holding me as I hold everyone else? The truth is, the balance you bring externally must also be cultivated internally. You can't pour from a cracked cup, no matter how divine your intentions may be. And restoring that internal harmony begins with one gentle decision at a time. That may look like stepping away from draining conversations. That may mean creating morning rituals that recenter your nervous system. It might be as simple as saying no to one more obligation, and yes to rest. Healing doesn't always look like action. Sometimes it looks like stillness. And perhaps the most powerful thing you can do this season, dear Libra, is remember that you are not responsible for everyone else's peace. You are only responsible for nurturing your own, and from that place, peace naturally overflows into the lives of those around you. That is where your divine alignment is born. Not from pleasing, but from presence. Not from sacrificing endlessly, but from choosing wisely. There are moments in life where something beyond logic confirms you are on the right path. A conversation you didn't expect. A book that falls off a shelf. A moment of quiet when you finally hear your own heartbeat again. You don't need signs written in the sky to know your mission is real. It's already encoded in how you love, how you notice, how you stay grounded even when no one else does. This message is here simply to remind you of what you already know deep down: you were made for this. And the moment you believe it, the world around you begins to align. Sometimes the most powerful fire is the one that's been quietly smoldering beneath the surface for years, waiting for permission to rise. For many Libras, this fire is your voice, your truth, your right to feel fully and express freely. And for a long time, that flame may have been hidden, dimmed, not because you lacked strength, but because the world taught you to survive by shrinking. You learned early that keeping the peace often meant silencing your needs, downplaying your intuition, or putting yourself second just to avoid tipping the scales too far. But here's the deeper truth: you were never meant to hide. You were meant to ignite. The journey of reclaiming that fire isn't dramatic or loud. In fact, it's often the quietest moments that carry the most transformation. Think of the way a single candle lights a dark room, not through force, but through presence. The same is true for you. The world may have called you too sensitive, too soft, or too indecisive, but in reality, you were only trying to find a way to honor both the storm and the stillness within you. That effort alone proves just how much power you actually carry. In tarot, the Strength card paired with Justice is a sacred alignment. It speaks to the ability to hold your ground with grace, to lead without dominating, to influence without demanding. Your power is not in the volume of your voice, but in the resonance of your soul. And that resonance is finally ready to echo. There's no need to shout to be heard when your energy speaks for you. Compassion has always been your compass, and now, it becomes your crown. You may not realize it yet, but the very wounds that made you question your worth are the same ones that sharpened your discernment, deepened your empathy, and taught you what true balance means. The betrayals that closed your heart also forged your resilience. The silences you endured shaped your listening not just to others, but to the divine intelligence within you. None of it was wasted. Everything served to prepare you for this precise moment. There's something profound that happens when we decide to stop hiding. Not because we have everything figured out, but because we finally recognize that our light, even when flickering, is holy. The number 777 often appears for those in the middle of a spiritual threshold, not just waking up to who they are, but accepting it fully. It's a number of deep alignment, of saying, I know who I am becoming, and I will no longer delay my becoming. If that number has been following you, showing up in receipts, timestamps, or in dreams, take it as confirmation. Your soul is being called forward. This is not about proving your worth. It's about living like you already believe it. You are not broken. You are burning, and not with rage, but with clarity, with purpose, with the heat of someone who remembers why they came here. In the stories passed down over time, we often hear about people who doubted their ability to lead until their purpose met them face to face. Moses didn't feel qualified to speak. He hesitated, trembled, resisted. And yet he was chosen, not in spite of his fear, but because of it. Fear is not a sign that you're unready. Sometimes, it's the surest sign that your next level is sacred. So if you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or silenced, know this: your love has endured, and that alone makes you worthy. If you're ready to stop hiding your fire, I invite you to speak it aloud in the comments. I will no longer hide my fire. Let this be your declaration, your gentle rebellion against everything that once tried to contain you. The flame is rising now. Let it rise. There comes a time, Libra, when the path ahead becomes quiet enough for you to hear what you've known all along. That waiting will not save you. That holding your breath won't bring the right moment any closer. That overthinking, though once your shield, has now become your cage. And now here you are standing at the threshold of something real. A crossroad. One direction leads into the light of self-honor, full expression, alignment. The other? Back into the loop of hesitations, postponements, and stories that say, maybe later. And the most sobering truth is this: not choosing is also a choice. One that hands your power back to fear on a silver platter. But what if you chose today instead? Not because you're completely ready. Not because everything feels safe. But because your soul is finally louder than your fear. The law of attraction doesn't move for those who simply wish. It moves in response to decision. And clarity is what triggers the shift. Write it down right now: I choose to take action today. Say it again if you need to. Let it anchor into your system. Let your body hear it. Because every cell in you is listening for instructions, and it's your belief, not your circumstances, that will lead the way. When you commit to forward motion, life doesn't wait to bless you. It meets you halfway. What you once thought was delayed was really just waiting on your yes. Not a whisper of a yes. A full-bodied, no matter what kind of yes. And if that feels terrifying, that's not a problem. It's a confirmation. Real growth always shows up with a trembling hand. But trembling does not mean weak. It means alive. This moment is your turning point, and your environment, inner and outer, needs to reflect that. Let's begin where it matters most: your energy. Your nervous system is the gateway to clear choice. Try this: each morning, sit quietly for 11 minutes and simply breathe. Let your focus rest on the colors that regulate your inner balance: jade green for heart clarity, silvery white for energetic purification. These shades aren't just beautiful theory, vibrational tools. Let them guide you into steadiness. Now take a look at your finances, not with guilt, but with gentle curiosity. Where is your energy leaking? Because where your money goes, your power follows. If you don't know where it's flowing, how can you claim your flow? Start tracking, not to restrict yourself, but to reclaim authority over your own energetic field. In your work life, notice what drains your light. It's not a failure to feel disconnected, it's a signal. If your daily tasks are robbing you of direction, then what you're feeling isn't burnout, it's misalignment. Pay attention. Not every exit is an escape. Sometimes it's deliverance. And love? Ah, dear Libra, you carry love like a velvet box, locked tight, beautiful but untouched. If there's something you've never said, or something you couldn't say, write it in a letter that you'll never send. Not for them, for you. Let the ink hold what your heart cannot carry anymore. You deserve to feel free in your own chest. Remember, there is no perfect moment coming. No right time that will feel completely safe. There's only now and the life that's waiting on the other side of your yes. The door is already open. You don't need permission to walk through. You just need presence. You need the decision. So as you stand at this soul crossroad, know that the universe isn't testing you, it's trusting you. Trust it back. And if you're ready, write this in the comments: I choose truth over delay. Let it be the key that unlocks everything. What often surprises people the most is that awakening rarely feels grand in the moment. It doesn't always arrive with lightning or fanfare. Sometimes, it comes quietly, like a deep breath you didn't realize you'd been holding, finally releasing itself. Sometimes, it shows up as a sentence you've heard before, but this time, it lands differently. Sometimes, it's a whisper that gently says, not tomorrow. today. For Libra, who has been conditioned to weigh every side, every ripple, every possible outcome, the idea of acting before feeling completely ready can seem like emotional risk. And yet, that's exactly where the magic lives. Your soul doesn't need you to be fully prepared, it needs you to be present. To stop waiting for the ideal moment, and instead recognize that this moment, with all its imperfections, is the invitation you've been praying for. Because change doesn't wait for your comfort. It waits for your willingness. One of the most misunderstood aspects of growth is that motivation is not a prerequisite for transformation. Many believe they have to feel it before they move. But from years of guiding those on their spiritual and energetic healing paths, I've learned the opposite is often true. The movement births the motivation. When you say, "I choose to act even if I don't feel ready," you send a message to the universe that says, "I'm serious." And when that message is clear, support starts flowing in from directions you never expected: clarity, opportunities, unexpected peace. But it all begins with alignment, and alignment begins with a choice. You are not the storm, Libra. You are the wind chime in the middle of it, fragile but resilient, still but not silent. When life gets loud, that's when your unique tone is needed most. Your grace, your awareness, your fairness, all of that becomes amplified when the world is unsteady. So if it feels like things around you have been shaking, it's not to break you, it's to activate you. You're being invited to sing louder with your life, to let the vibration of your choices ring true, not just for you but for those quietly watching you choose. Sometimes in our most fragile hours, we look up not for a miracle, but for a reminder that we're not alone in this. And the truth is, there are moments in life that feel orchestrated just for us. A stranger's kind word, a perfectly timed message, or a decision we made that turned out to be exactly what was needed. These aren't accidents. They're signs of what becomes possible when you stop postponing your truth. You've already been feeling it, haven't you? That inner tension between who you've been and who you're becoming. That tug-of-war between your patterns and your purpose. And if you're honest, you know the only thing still standing in the way is hesitation. Not fear. Just the pause between knowing and acting. Let this be the day you cross that gap. Not by doing something dramatic. Not by changing everything overnight. But by making one single, sacred decision that says, "I no longer want to keep myself waiting." Take a moment and ask yourself, what am I still waiting for? And more importantly, what am I afraid will happen if I say yes to my next chapter today? Write it down. Speak it out. And then let it go. That's how you begin to shift the timeline. That's how you let the version of you that's already ready rise. If this speaks to you, type it into the comments now. I choose to move, even if I'm not ready. That phrase alone can become the seed that grows into an entirely new reality. Let it take root today, not later. Not all leadership begins with certainty. In fact, the most powerful kinds rarely do. True leadership often emerges when someone simply chooses to stop hiding. And that, dear Libra, is where your quiet revolution begins, not in some future moment when everything is perfectly aligned, but right here, when you decide that your presence has meaning, and your choices carry ripple effects far beyond what you can see. Your energy isn't passive, it's highly magnetic. When you choose light, you don't just feel better for yourself. You shift rooms. You affect atmospheres. You open doorways for others to step into their own clarity. What you align with internally becomes permission for others to do the same, even if they never say it aloud. One Libra moving into truth is like a tuning fork activating dormant frequencies in those around them who've also been waiting for the courage to move. And this isn't just theoretical. I once worked with a woman, a classic Libra in every sense, who spent years trying to keep the peace in a life that no longer fit her. She stayed in a job that drained her because it looked good on paper. She said yes in relationships where her soul was screaming no, simply to avoid rocking the boat. But one day, something in her shifted. It wasn't a dramatic moment, it was subtle. She woke up and realized that continuing to play small would no longer protect her, it would only delay her. So she made a bold, quiet decision to start over. No announcements. No guarantees. Just one truth at a time. She left the job, found her own rhythm, started teaching in small circles, sharing the exact wisdom she used to keep buried inside. And now, she's leading a growing community, not because she set out to be a leader, but because she chose to live in alignment. Her light began attracting others who had been walking through the same shadows. That's the power of embodied truth. That's the power of a Libra choosing themselves. You see, Libra, you don't need to have all the answers to be someone's lighthouse. You just need to turn yours on. People don't need perfect, they need real. They need steady. They need someone who's willing to walk the path before it's fully lit. Because every time you say yes to truth, yes to growth, yes to the discomfort of becoming, you create a map. And someone, somewhere, is quietly watching you, wondering if they're allowed to say yes too. Don't underestimate that. Your story doesn't need to be dramatic to be transformational. In fact, the most radical shift often starts with a single choice. I won't pretend anymore. I won't hold back my light for the comfort of others. I won't hide my clarity just to stay liked. These are the decisions that start revolutions, not in the world out there, but in the energy field that connects us all. And while it may feel intimidating to step forward while still figuring things out, remember, you don't have to know exactly where you're going to begin walking in the right direction. Sometimes the most honest form of leadership is simply saying, I'm going first. Even if my voice shakes. So if something in you has been whispering that it's time, that you can't keep postponing your light, this is your confirmation. Not because you have to lead with perfection, but because your authenticity is already leadership. It always has been. If this speaks to the part of you that's been quietly waiting for permission, consider this your moment. Say it with me now, in the comments below. I am Libra, and I am ready. Let your words be a signal. Not just to the world, but to the future version of you who's been waiting for you to say yes. Let this be the moment they begin to rise. What a journey this has been. From the moment you arrived here, perhaps not even fully knowing why, to the final seconds of this message, something inside you has been shifting. Gently, powerfully, irreversibly. You've traveled through the call of your soul, through the fire that's been waiting to be reignited, through the moment of truth at the crossroads, and into the bold possibility that your personal choice could spark collective transformation. These weren't just chapters in a video. They were steps, sacred steps back to yourself. Now, Libra, take a breath. Let it all land. This is where you remember, you are not broken, behind, or too late. You are exactly where you need to be to begin the next chapter of your life with more clarity, more courage, and a heart just soft enough to feel deeply, and just strong enough to move forward. No one else writes this story for you. No one else walks the path ahead. And the best news is, you don't need permission. You've already received it. Every insight that came through this message was never about fixing you, it was about freeing you. Because there's a version of you who already lives on the other side of doubt, fear, and delay. That version is not a fantasy. It's simply the you who chooses differently. Who trusts the whisper instead of the noise. Who believes that showing up imperfect but present is more than enough to change everything. So the question now becomes, what will you do with what you've heard today? Will you let this be one more inspiring video that fades into the background of a busy life? Or will you pause, even for just 5 minutes, to anchor something new? Will you write the words that have been sitting in your heart? Will you speak the truth that's been waiting in your throat? Will you allow yourself to make one decision, just one that honors who you're becoming? You don't need to do it all. You only need to begin. And if you're wondering how to start, I'll offer this. Take one thing that resonated with you from this message, and bring it into your physical world today. Maybe that's writing down your affirmation. Maybe it's taking that walk, making that phone call, or choosing rest without guilt. Maybe it's simply saying out loud, I'm not hiding anymore. Because your light, Libra, is not subtle. It was never meant to be. It's just been waiting for you to recognize that its full expression is not too much, it's exactly what this world needs. And if you felt that undeniable pull in your chest while listening, if something inside you whispered, this was for me, then I invite you to comment below with the words, I am ready for the next chapter. Let that be your soul's signature. Let it mark this moment in time when you chose to rise. I also want to thank you, truly, for being here. Your presence, your energy, your openness, it means more than you know. Every like, every comment, every share, every new subscription helps this community grow, and helps bring these messages to others who are still searching in silence. This space we're building together here at Zodiac Whisper Tarot is not just for astrology, it's for awakening. For reconnection. For remembering who you are. So please, if this message touched you in any way, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need it. And if you're feeling bold and ready, comment 777 below to seal this moment with sacred intention. Your story is still unfolding. And you, beautiful Libra, hold the pen. What will you write next?